These are the covers for my book, Blood Red Star. I wanted to just quickly go over artwork, if I can do this quickly. I'm not sure if I can. Um, I'm I'm trying to market this book, get people to read it, and one way that I think I can do that maybe is showing some art styles and things that I'm thinking about while I create it, some behind the scenes processes. Um, I think this one right here is probably one of my best pieces that I've ever done, to be honest. This is Tessa, and Tessa is a mark. She's hunted, and they call them marks simply because they're born with these tattoos, kind of. And whenever they use them, they glow and they become really bright. And it just makes it's a mark of death, basically. If you find somebody who has this on them, they're hunted and they're in hiding probably. Parents have turned in their own children if they're born with a mark. And being born with a mark is very rare, but it happens. And then once that happens, basically to the community, to the public, you've become an enemy. And they call them immortals. And she's particularly vicious, I would say. Tessa is. Um, one of the things I did, this is one of my students' cat. She sent me a picture of her in leather, a leather jacket. So I use that as reference. These are, I use my own hands as reference. They started off as just line drawings. I did bring in some line drawings you can see here. So like I started off with this. I didn't necessarily like this hand position. I usually, for some reason, when I do hands, a lot of times I'll put the two middle fingers together, but I didn't like this pose no matter what I did. And here's like a quick lighting pass. These are some things I'll do to try and solidify an idea. In the end, I just felt like I didn't like the way her hips were. I didn't like how tucked she was. And even though it seems like more of an elevated view looking down, I just felt like this view was way more compelling. And so she loves daggers, she loves leather, and she basically is a rogue, like a classic rogue or a thief, a particularly violent and angry one. This is Tessa. This is the first time I drew her. This is 2013 about. And so you can see I have an idea of what she looks like in my mind. These don't look exactly the same, but I knew I wanted like short hair, the mark up here. She's pretty, but she does look bratty, I guess. I think that's what I was going for. Here's the full version. I think back then I would just put in photographs. I wouldn't even try and bring them in because I didn't want to hide it. Like if I'm going to use a photograph, I might as well just put it in your face so you could see it. These are some other marks. This is Darian Cade, and this is a character who's not even in the book anymore. And so they all had marks. They've changed drastically over the years. The story's changed a lot over the years. So that's Darian and his crew. This is an early version. That's another Darian. His face is just different again. This is Will. He wasn't in that book. He was completely different. And he's changed. He's no longer Will. He's Leon now. This is a sorceress or a lurist who is hunting them down. So going back to this is Darian. This is a guy he ends up confronting in his book, and he doesn't know who he is. He's just a lurist, some guy who actually controls a small little army. And he's what I wanted. I just used a smoke brush here. So just a quick smoke brush, and then I overlaid some like an image that I drew of a face. I stretched it and I cut it and I warped it and I did all this. Anything that was weird, because in the book it's like it says that his face was a shifting facade. It was layered in lure to where you couldn't recognize what he looked like. It wasn't a true mask. It was a concealment spell, I guess. What you would say. And that's Darian. This is Leon. And Leon, this is a lot of photo bashing, actual pants that I found online and all this stuff. And then, of course, I just copy pasted the hands so that they're same. I did change them slightly. It's the little trick you do. You mirror something and then you just slightly paint one to where it feels like it's just enough to be different. Like you can see my shadows are different. The thumb is slightly different, just enough to show it. And then this Leon is now one of my main characters. In his book, he finds this object which it's a container for something different, and so it will affect his journey throughout the entire book. So yeah, this is just these are my covers. This is what I've been doing. It's hard to market as an author. You spent years, or I mean, the really good authors don't necessarily need to do that. They can pump out a book pretty fast. But for someone like me who's learning and has two jobs, it takes a long time. It's a huge effort to come out with a book. And then once I release it, what do I say? I read my book, check out my book. And I know that gets old, just asking people to check out your book, to read your story, what's been in your mind. And so one of the other avenues I'm trying to do is actually just show artwork and the things that that are going behind the scenes. I am a professional concept artist. I work for Wildcard, and I want to illustrate all this stuff. All my covers, I'd like to do additional artworks if possible. And, to get people to like what you like. That's not actually what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find people who like what I like. What do I like? I love D&D. I love comic books. I love anything that's not the reality that I know. I love something supernatural. I love magic, this idea of all that. I love warriors, old films, Willow, Lord of the Rings, of course. Grew up on The Hobbit. I grew up on comic books, all this stuff, The Matrix. If you like that stuff, you'll like this book. I hope you check it out.